If you have an experience of infinite zero or emptiness, is there any hierarchy? If I'm at zero and you're at zero, we have a level playing field, don't we? And the experience in these techniques that Yogi Bhajan taught, the experience of the zero is when you hold your breath. And when you hold your breath, you lift everything up, like Kundalini. Imagine the techniques if we didn't do practices like holding the breath like that. Like if we just stretched. We talked about the stretching. If you walk up the diving board and you walk to the end of the diving board and you jump off the diving board, when is the moment of shunya? Between the board and the water. It is. Woo! Yeah? But if we don't do the holding and the lifting up of the energy, the Kundalini Yoga practices, and we just do some fancy stretching. I call that yoga propaganda. It makes people want to do yoga. You post it online. Check this out. And then people go, oh, I'd like to do that. Like propaganda. But if you just do the propaganda, it's like walking up the diving board steps, walking to the end, taking a picture, put it on Instagram, turn around, walk back down the diving board, walk back down the steps. That's it. There needs to be the experience of mental clarity. When my partner started doing Kundalini Yoga, she could do every pose. You know, she's really flexible. She can do all this stuff. And when she started to practice Kundalini Yoga, she had to do something she'd never done before in the stretching. You know what it was? Face her thoughts. Because if you're really bendy, if you're stiff, man, the poses you'll face your thoughts. You know. But if you're flexible, you don't have to think about anything. You just plan your day later, make a shopping list, think about how you look, all that stuff. But did you face your thoughts doing this? Some people had thoughts of, I think I should leave. Like it was cool when he was telling jokes, but this is not great. This is not good. But we know, we talked about it at the start, yoga is the end of that. And it doesn't mean it goes away. It means that you're able to acknowledge the challenge and the solution at the same time. What is the challenge? This sucks. My shoulders hurt, whatever it is, you know. What's the solution? You know it will end. You know, he's kind of a weird guy, but there's no way he's going to keep us in here for the rest of our lives doing that. You know it will end. So you see the challenge and the solution at the same time. That's the sage. You know, you start to notice that people behave the way that they do because of their conditions. It's not who they are. Somebody's behaving like an a-hole. It's from their condition. We already decided they weren't born like that. Didn't we? Something happened. Have you ever had something happen to you that was really harmful? And then you hurt somebody else as a result? Probably. Anybody get hungry and behave like an a-hole? They make the commercials like where the guy turns into Joe Pesci or something till they give him a Snickers bar. You know, we all do it. And yet we get caught in the duality of the mind and we start saying, I'm right and you're wrong. You did this to me. Blame. What's blame in its most severe form? Violence. Right? Somebody did this to me, so I'm going to get them. Look around. I shared this story in the class yesterday about this Aikido master. And the student goes to the master and he says, will you teach me about heaven and hell? You've heard that in martial arts they say that it's about balancing heaven and earth, right? Same thing with Kundalini Yoga. Lower triangle, upper triangle, same thing. But he goes to the master, the student, he says, will you teach me about heaven and hell? And he said, yes, I will, when I have some spare time. And some time passes. And one day the student is doing some work in the center. And the master comes up behind him and just lays into him. You never do anything right. You're the worst, blah, blah, blah. You're the worst student here. Like, really nasty stuff. To the point where the student goes to draw a sword and take out the teacher. And the teacher says, hold on. I didn't mean any of that. I'm so sorry. I love you. You're amazing. And he puts the sword back in. He says, why did you do that? He said, the first part was hell. The forgiveness, that's heaven. There you go. It's a good teaching. You hear the two dimensions of the mind going, that's right, wrong, and this. And if you don't balance the navel, you've got strong emotions in there. So you're communicating from your emotions, and you got to be right and somebody's got to be wrong. And then you wonder why there's all these problems in the world. It's because of people identifying with their conditions. Somebody didn't tell them that they're beautiful, bountiful, blissful, they deserve to be happy. We all do. That's why the most effective Buddhist meditation is called loving kindness meditation. Do you know it? What do you say? May this person be happy. May this person be free from suffering. And then you act. It's just that little moment of, and this stuff will teach you that. Because you hear it in your head. Oh, I hate this. This is the word. You start blaming and identifying with the condition. All it takes is that little pause. Don't we all want to be happy? Don't we all want to be free from suffering? If we start believing that we don't deserve to be happy or free from suffering, like if I was skinnier, people will love me. If I was more beautiful, people will love me. If I was whatever. If I could do the pose like Shiva Ray, then I would be a good yogi. Bullshit. Would you talk to your children like that? My daughter's name is Marley. Marley, I love you. You're such a great kid. But you know what? If you looked a little skinnier at school, people would like you more. Are you kidding me? You hear how insane that sounds? And God, the infinite, is everywhere at once. So when you talk to yourself like that, you harm everybody. And when you heal yourself, you heal everybody. It's true. And that's what the practice of yoga is. And a yogi who practices yoga sees what everywhere? Sameness. Not division, not I'm a this and you're a that. That's the sage sitting and seeing it all, the challenge and the solution. You're not denying that there's pain and suffering. You see it. You acknowledge it. Yogi Ji said, you show up in the ugly times and the bountiful times and you bring blessings either way. But you can't do that by just listening to the Oprah podcast and learning some nice affirmations. And there has to be an experiential component. Still listen to the Oprah podcast if it helps. You be you. Or the Revealing the Diamond podcast. You know, the nice way of explaining this is that I'm amazing and everybody's equal to me. That's Kundalini Yoga, man. Not I'm up here and you're down there, or I'm down here and you're down. People use the word ego in spiritual circles a lot, like the ego is bad and must be destroyed. The ego is like money. It's neutral. It's how you identify with your conditions. If you have an unhealthy relationship with your ego, everybody thinks it means you're a narcissist, like Guru Jagat was talking about the other day. Do you know that an ego problem is also you don't think you're good enough? That's an ego problem. You know how I know? You were born with infinite worth. Now when you're driving home or on the plane or however you got here, you'll be thinking, infinite worth, I'm not my conditions. That's good. That's a yoga teacher, not a fitness instructor. So to live a spiritual life or to be a yogi or to practice yoga means to be a student of who? Yourself. That's it. And will you see yourself mirrored in other things that appear to be separate? Yeah. What did the chant say when you were like this? Every breath of life is God's name to me. Everything. It's everywhere. Sameness. All the pain and all the suffering, you see the conditions, and then you see yourself in all of it. If you see yourself in someone else, what do you develop? It starts with a C. Compassion, which is the heart of all of this. If you can't see that the other person, like you, wants to be happy and wants to be free from suffering, we got a problem, and resistance will show up to teach us. Resistance is a Saturn teacher, man. If you need a Saturn teacher. And after a while, you become like the sage. You catch it at the whisper. Oh yeah, he wants to be happy too. Now I remember. And make sense? So true prosperity is to recognize who you are in relationship to all of this. And you don't have to scheme and grab and grasp, and you still take action. You know, Krishna said it's impossible to not take action. Even when you think you're sitting still, you're taking action. There's always action. We brought Julia Butterfly Hill to Vancouver. Have you heard of her? She lived in a California redwood tree for 738 days to protest against old-growth forest deforestation. She's amazing. And the big teaching that she brought was, it's scientifically impossible to not make a difference. Every thought you have makes a difference. Every action you have makes a difference. Everything you do makes a difference. And that's what makes Kundalini Yoga such a great practice, because you wake up in the morning instead of going, oh, another day, whatever it is, checking in with your infinite worth. That's what sadhana's for. Do you remember who you are? Oh yeah, I do. Okay, then start your day from there. It's called infinite zero. Start with a level playing field. Because stuff's going to come up to try and knock you off center. All kinds of things. And if you don't do anything about it, the navel's out of balance, you're communicating from strong emotions, you have to be right, everybody has to be wrong. You're going to have blowouts. And resistance will show up to teach you to find the center. That's even the missteps are leading you to you. Right? Correct. As Yogi Bhajan, you've got mail from the other side. Yogi Ji said, never be jealous of what another has. Create more than them, and you will always be happy. There's a tricky saying there, isn't it? It doesn't mean create more than them because you're better than them and they deserve less. Who deserves to live a prosperous life? Everybody wants to be happy. Everybody wants to be free from suffering. You teach your children that. You don't tell your kids to go to school and only be nice to these kids and not these kids. How do we miss that when we become grown-ups? You guys get it because you're here, right? But it's going on out there, isn't it? I'm a this and you're a that, and therefore we can't get along because our parents were a this and a that, and our grandparents were a this and a that, and we are all of this. And a life without unity will make you sick. Resistance will show up to teach you. All of us. We're born to be as one, infinite, connected. And if you keep slandering what appears to be others, you make yourself sick. And if you keep closing yourself off, like these energetic centers, you'll make society sick. And if you keep scheming and grabbing and it's all about me ownership, you divide the one. It's called duality. And you create all this imbalance individually and collectively. And then you recognize you're doing it. And you start at home to manage this, to get open. Open your navel. How do you get open and balanced at the navel? You share your resources. How do you get open at the heart? Recognize the other person is you. How do you get open at the head brain? Starts with an M. Meditate. See the duality. See the challenge and the solution at the same time. See the big picture. It requires training for that. Everybody's born with a two-dimensional mind. Good, bad, right, wrong, this, that, love, fear. The meditative mind, the mind of the Buddha, can see it all and know who you are in relationship to that. And if you do this, you live a life of unity, you'll attract the prosperity that you were born with and to deserve. It's your birthright. And when you start to feel dull or you're caught up in the I'm less than duality, what is the most important practice that you can do to pull yourself out of the slump? You want to be a yogi? You want to be one with God? How do you become one with the Creator? You be creative. Be creative. Don't go through the motions. Don't be in a get-by mentality. Just start being creative. I'm not saying you have to paint a picture. Be creative. Be creative in your relationship. Be creative when you make your lunch for your kids. Like, I mean, whatever. Be creative. Bring creativity to life. Instead of asking for something outside of you to bless you, bless yourself. You have the capacity. We know it's true because you were born with infinite worth. And that's what it means to live as a yogi. And if stretching helps, please stretch. And if singing helps, please sing. And if feeding people helps, feeding people is the most effective. You feel like you're stuck in a rut, you don't know what to do, just start feeding everyone. Really. You know, this came down through Guru Nanak. Everybody eats. Langar, the practice of Langar, everybody eats. We all sit on the floor, whether you have $10 million or $1, whether you're a leper or whether you have beautiful skin. Everybody, whether you're a Muslim, a Hindu, a this, a that, purple, blue, green, everybody sits on the same ground, takes their shoes off, eats vegetarian food so no dietary restrictions are broken. That's spiritual practice. What's my calling? People ask, what's your dharma? They don't know where to start. Feed people. Start there. All right. Sit tall, rub the palms. Press the hands to the heart. May all beings be happy. May all beings be free from suffering. May all beings benefit in some way from this time of practice. We'll close with a long Satnam. Inhale. Sa Satnam. Right. Well, thank you for coming to the yoga class. We'll see you soon. You can get the recording at Revealing the Diamond and the Revealing the Diamond podcasts. You can also follow me on Instagram, Tiaga Prem. I do a lot of the classes live on Instagram. And if you want to, I'm doing a training, 3-day training in Calgary this month, the 18th to the 20th at Yoga Passage, on leadership and living as a yogi. Love you. Satnam.